The town always whispered about the bikers. Loud engines. Heavy boots. Leather jackets covered in patches no one understood. Parents pulled their kids closer whenever the steel guardians rolled by, convinced they were trouble, too wild, too dangerous, too unpredictable. But on one summer afternoon, every judgment, every whisper, every stereotype shattered. It began with a 7-year-old girl sprinting barefoot down a sun-baked street, her small chest heaving, tears carving clean lines down her dusty face. She wasn't running from danger. She was running for help. Her world was collapsing, and she had no one else left to trust. Not the neighbors who pretended they didn't hear. Not the relatives who stopped visiting. Not the teachers who saw the bruises but stayed silent. She ran to the only people she'd never spoken to, the bikers she had been taught to fear. The steel guardians were parked outside a diner, halfway through their charity route, eating fries and teasing each other like oversized kids. No one expected a little girl to throw herself at them like a drowning person reaching for the last floating plank. She stood before them shaking, her voice cracking into a scream she'd been holding in for years. "They're beating my mama. Please, please help her." The moment the words left her mouth, time froze. Every biker went silent. Every engine, every joke, every breath died in the air. What happened next became the story this town would never forget, a story the little girl would someday tell her own children, a story that revealed something no one had believed. Heroes don't always wear uniforms, sometimes they wear leather, sometimes they roar in on motorcycles, sometimes they show up when the world has turned its back on you, and sometimes they save you when you thought no one ever would. The Steel Guardians weren't a typical biker gang. They didn't race, fight, or run reckless through the town. Officially, they were a charity motorcycle club. Unofficially, they were the group people whispered about, the group parents warned their kids to avoid. Tattoos, beards, smoke, and noise didn't help their reputation, but beneath the rough exteriors were men who carried food to single mothers, gathered toys for children at Christmas, and raised money for elderly neighbors without ever taking credit. They didn't do it for praise. They did it because they knew what suffering looked like. Many of them had lived it. Their leader, Ray "Bear" Dalton, was a mountain of a man with a gentle pair of eyes that contradicted everything else about him. He had been through foster homes, street fights, and a childhood no child deserved. The Guardians were his family now, and they protected people the way no one had protected him. That afternoon, the sun blazed over the cracked pavement as the bikers parked outside Miller's diner. They were sweaty, hungry, and halfway through a long route delivering food packs to low-income families. Ray tossed his gloves onto the table and stretched. "Another 10 stops," he said. "If no one collapses first." "That's the spirit," one of the bikers joked, shoving a basket of fries toward him. They were laughing when a faint sound reached them, footsteps pounding hard against the ground, too fast, too desperate. Ray turned first. A little girl was running toward them, hair tangled, backpack half torn, feet bare and red from the rough pavement. Her breath came out in short, panicked bursts. Her eyes darted around like she wasn't sure whether to run away or keep going. Before Ray could move, she stumbled straight into him and grabbed his vest with trembling fingers. "Please," she sobbed. "Help. They're beating my mama." Every biker froze. Ray lowered himself to eye level, keeping his voice steady. "Sweetheart, who's hurting her?" The girl gulped, shaking so hard she could barely speak. "My mom's boyfriend, he's drunk, he locked the door, she's screaming, I ran, I didn't know where else to go." She wasn't lying. Her panic was too real, too raw. Ray looked at his men. A silent agreement flashed between them. "Lead us," Ray said quietly. The girl didn't hesitate. She spun around and ran, the bikers following like a thunderstorm. The house was small, paint peeling, yard overgrown. They heard shouting from inside, deep, slurred, angry. Then a crash. Then a woman's cry. Ray didn't wait for explanation. He charged up the steps and slammed his shoulder into the door. It burst open on the first try. Inside, a man towered over a woman curled on the floor, arms shielding her head. His face was red from rage and alcohol. The moment he saw the bikers, his expression twisted, fear, confusion, denial. "What the hell is this?" he yelled. Ray didn't answer. Two guardians blocked the exits. Another helped the woman up, speaking gently, checking for broken bones. The girl ran to her mother, hugging her tightly. The woman cried harder at the sight of her daughter. The man lunged. A biker stepped forward and pinned him to the wall with one hand, not hurting him, just stopping him. "It's over," he said flatly. "You hurt her again and you answer to all of us." The man sputtered, cursed, tried to fight, but he was outnumbered and outmatched. The bikers didn't lay a hand on him beyond restraint. They didn't need violence. Their presence was enough. Minutes later, police sirens approached, called by neighbors who finally decided something sounded wrong. Officers entered, recognized the guardians, and exhaled, relieved. "What happened?" an officer asked. Ray pointed to the mother and daughter. "She needed help." The officer nodded. "Good thing she ran to the right people." The mother, Emily, was taken to the clinic for treatment: cracked rib, bruises, sprained wrist. The little girl, Lily, stayed glued to the bikers the entire time, refusing to let go of Ray's vest. When Emily was discharged, the guardians didn't disappear. They made sure she had a place to stay. Not a shelter, an actual safe apartment. They paid the first 3 months' rent up front. They filled her fridge. They bought Lily clothes, school supplies, and a new pair of shoes. People in town were stunned. Those bikers helped them? Are you sure? The Steel Guardians? Whispers shifted. Perceptions cracked. One day at the diner, Ray overheard a couple talking. "I always thought they were troublemakers," a woman whispered. "Turns out they protect people better than anyone else." Ray didn't care about praise. What mattered was that Emily and Lily were safe, but safety didn't fix everything. Emily struggled with guilt, fear, and insecurity. She cried often, apologizing for being a burden, though no one ever made her feel like one. Lily began visiting the bikers' garage after school. She'd sit on an overturned bucket while they worked on engines, doing her homework or telling Ray about her day. She called him Bear Uncle. Ray didn't correct her. 3 months later, Emily attended a community event organized by the Guardians. Free food, free clothes, music, and a kids' corner. The entire town showed up. Lily spotted Ray across the field and sprinted toward him, laughing, not crying, not afraid, laughing. She jumped into his arms. "Uncle Bear. Look. Mama made cupcakes for everyone." Emily followed, carrying a tray full of homemade chocolate cupcakes. She looked healthier, lighter, almost unrecognizable from the woman on the floor that day. She handed a cupcake to Ray. "I can never repay what you did, but I can bake. So. I hope this helps." Ray took the cupcake like it was something sacred. "You repay us by living free. That's enough." Emily smiled, small, but real. Later that evening, as the sun dipped and music softened, the town mayor approached the Guardians. "We'd like to honor your club for your service," he announced loudly. Ray shook his head. "No speeches. No attention. Just let people know, if someone feels alone, they can come to us." The mayor nodded, and that night, for the first time, the Steel Guardians were not seen as dangerous men on motorcycles. They were seen as protectors. Months turned into years. Emily rebuilt her life. She found a job at a bakery. She discovered confidence she didn't know she had. Lily grew into a bright, strong teenager who loved books and motorcycles in equal measure. Every birthday, every school play, every milestone, Ray and the Guardians were there. They weren't just friends. They were family. One evening, when Lily was 12, she asked Ray, "Why did you help us? You didn't even know us." Ray looked at her for a long moment. "Because once," he said, "I was a kid running for help too. But nobody came. I promised myself, if a child ever ran to me, I would never let them face fear alone." Lily hugged him tightly. "You kept your promise." And Ray did every single day after.